Good evening, Board of Directors, Superintendent Larios, and our guests, both in person and online. Thank you for joining us this evening for our board meeting. It is now 5:47, and I will now call this regular board meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we all have the agenda before us. We have no changes. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Is there? Thank you. All in favor of adopting the agenda as presented, please say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries 5-0 vote. So thank you everyone for being here. Next, we have public comment. So I will invite our guests to come and speak, and I will also call maybe the two individuals after, if they can sit in the front, and you'll be on standby. That way, when one person is finished and you're invited to join us and share, that you're ready. So thank you for being at the Woodburn School District Board meeting tonight and for sharing your comments with the board. Hearing from our families and our community is important to us. During this section, the board's role is to listen. We will not be engaging in dialogue with folks making comments. Follow-up is warranted. That will usually be done through our superintendent. As a reminder, we model the way for our children. Please keep your comments respectful and do not personally identify staff or students by name, as this may violate HR and student privacy laws. We want to leave time for everyone, so please keep your comments to 3 minutes per person. So one, I want to remind you that you have 3 minutes. I don't want to stop you and you don't want me to stop you. So if you can respect the time. And then also, if you can stick to what you've written, because I also don't want to stop you if I don't see that you are sharing what you have written and what you have submitted. Okay. If you are in the back, can you hear me? I feel like my microphone is going back in. Okay, thank you.
We're holding this one for standby for public comment, and then there's a few in the middle as well.
Okay. So Ana Felix Garcia. And I would also like to invite Kevin Carr for standby and Max Sanchez. Okay. And Gillian Del Rio. How about April Alvarez? Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay,
Welcome, Anna.
thank you. Dear Superintendent, Mr. Larios, and Woodburn School Board members. I'm a student from Success High School reaching out to you and the school board, formally writing this letter to express our disappointment in your recent vote, and to make you guys aware of the distress and fear you guys caused to not just students, but families and children. By not passing this referring safe and welcoming schools for all resolution, this has caused families and children to not feel safe in their schools, in their work, and at home, and in our town. This isn't just your town, this is our town. We would like for you to reconsider passing this resolution. Here in Woodburn, we love our community and community members. By voting no on this resolution, it has spread fear to families and students. School districts around us had recently voted yes on Safe Schools resolution, and our town, with 87% of students and 42% of staff identifying as Latino or Hispanic, voted against it. We all care about our community feeling safe. Students should feel like school is a safe place to be. Please show us you care about our students and community by reconsidering your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin Carr?
Good evening. My name's Kevin Carr. Thank you to the board and everyone here for your dedication in making our schools safe for all students, teachers, staff, and families. Ensuring safe schools is ongoing work. There are no easy answers, and we must remain committed. Let's be clear. This situation stems from one thing: President Trump's executive order targeting undocumented students and their families through their schools. This order is not only illegal, but it does not change Woodburn School District's policies, nor does it alter Oregon state law. Instead, it was designed to spread fear in immigrant communities, and unfortunately, we're now feeling the effects of that fear. History has shown us that fear leads to division. We've seen this in the last week. When OPB published the headline, "Woodburn School Board Rejects Safe Schools," I was confused, and it was misleading, because it failed to clarify that Woodburn's policies on school safety and law enforcement access remain unchanged. The board's vote was not about rejecting safety, but about its own fear over losing federal funding. Fear is the theme. I contacted the OPB reporter to thank her and clarify that the resolution would be revisited, and she acknowledged missing that detail in her report. To her credit, she revised the article later that day, but by then the damage was done. Her original version had already spread in social media and so on. The impact was immediate. While visiting the high school last week as part of my job working with new teachers for the district, students left class in protest. Their fear and frustration are real, and their voices matter, and we should be proud of them and everyone else who's speaking tonight. But it's important to remember who's responsible for creating this climate: not our community, not the school board, but the Trump administration. Since the last meeting, the board has actively sought more information and consulted state agencies. The resolution has been revised to reflect these discussions. I urge the board to vote yes with the confidence that this resolution now aligns with the law, has the backing of the state, and can be fully defended if necessary. Unfortunately, these kinds of challenges will keep coming. So how do we respond? I have some suggestions. First, let's assume good intentions. People's actions or beliefs won't always make sense, but we can start by assuming that they mean well. Be curious. When something feels wrong or causes fear, ask questions. And then listen. Others' experiences are probably different from our own. Listening helps us see through their eyes. And finally, stay engaged. Avoid the temptation to retreat or attack. Keep the conversation going. Fear and chaos are exactly what Trump's policies intend to create. We don't have to fall into that trap. Instead, let's stand together as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Max Sanchez.
Good evening. 2 weeks ago, I asked the board to approve Resolution 25-001, which would have reaffirmed Woodburn School District's commitment to support the needs of all students, regardless of immigration status. Unfortunately, 3 of the 5 board members chose to vote against this exceedingly reasonable proposal. Since then, we have seen a dramatic increase in student anxiety throughout Woodburn School District, with many of our students reporting being afraid to attend school because they are worried about being detained or that their confidential information might be shared with ICE officials. This is the price of inaction. Instead of moving to reassure our students at the last meeting, this board chose to create more fear and uncertainty. Instead of responding with clarity, your inaction created a space for rumors to be spread and exaggerated. Instead of showing compassion for the most vulnerable members of our school community, this board chose to respond with indifference and apathy. To put it simply, the decision the majority of this board made 2 weeks ago actively harmed our students and only served to increase the tension, anxiety, and fear that has been permeating throughout our community. This is not the way a school board should act, nor is it the way a school district should be run. If you are not here to support our students, what is the purpose of this board? I call on you to please restore confidence in our district by reconsidering Resolution 25-001.
Thank you. Is Gillian here? Okay. So I will go ahead and read her statement. And April? I'll have you read. Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay. So this is from Gillian Del Rio. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Gillian Del Rio, and I am here tonight as both a proud alumni of the Woodburn School District and a dedicated community member. I am deeply disappointed by the board's recent decision to vote against resolution number 25-001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. This decision undermines the district's mission and values and disregards the pressing needs of our community during these challenging times. With a master's degree in educational leadership policy, I have worked with school districts and educational institutions across the state. Despite their differences, one thing remains consistent in high-performing schools with strong student outcomes. They prioritize safe and welcoming environments. Research from the American Psychological Association and National Education Association confirms that when students feel secure, they are better able to focus, learn, and succeed. Conversely, when students feel unsafe, whether due to immigration concerns, discrimination, or community hostility, their education and well-being suffer. Woodburn's student body includes many immigrant families who are integral to the fabric of this community. Woodburn families deserve the assurance that their children can attend school without fear of harassment, discrimination, or deportation. With the growing number of uncertainties growing in our society, students feel safe at school should not be an added concern. By refusing to affirm our schools as sanctuary spaces, this board is sending a harmful message that some students are less deserving of protection and security than others. That is simply unacceptable. I am also deeply concerned that political ideologies are being disguised behind no votes. If board members are making decisions based on personal beliefs rather than the well-being of students, they are betraying the trust this community has placed in them. Schools should never place where political agendas take precedence over student welfare. I urge the board to reconsider this decision and recommit to its fundamental responsibility, ensuring that every child in this district feels safe, supported, and valued. Reaffirming sanctuary status is not a political statement. It's a moral obligation to protect children. If we fail to do that, we fail as a community. Thank you. Asa?
And I will be reading this on behalf of Reina Lopez, who can't be here today. Chair Legaspi and members of the board, for the record, my name is Reina Lopez, President and Executive Director of PECUN, Oregon's Farm Worker Union on 300 Young Street, Woodburn, Oregon. This resolution is a statement in support and to reaffirm Oregon state law at a time when federal agencies are threatening to tear our families apart and devastate our community. The impacts of this have been chilling. We're seeing children afraid to attend school and parents worried about the safety of their kids. This rejection of the Safe and Welcoming Schools resolution is not aligned with Woodburn values of fairness and caring for each other. This resolution would have sent a strong and positive message to students from the Woodburn School District, stating clearly that they are safe and protected on campus. PECUN represents Oregon farm workers who have children in the district. Rejecting the resolution is a betrayal of trust by the elected officials we thought were here to protect our children. Farm workers who are parents in the district believe in caring for each other and protecting our children and students against people who try to divide us. In 2018, voters overwhelmingly supported Oregon's sanctuary law to protect against unlawful racial profiling, interrogating and detaining Oregonians simply because people are perceived to be undocumented immigrants. The students of Woodburn schools are our families, friends, cousins, siblings, daughters, sons, nieces, and nephews. They are part of our communities, workplaces, and places of worship, and should be safe from harassment, just like any other Oregonian. Please pass a resolution to support safe and welcoming schools. Respectfully, Reina Lopez, Executive Director of PECUN.
Thank you. Oh, next is Misael Cortez. He is not present, so I will go ahead and read, but I would like to invite Nicole Islas. and Sandra Hernandez to stand by up in the front. Are you here? Percent. Okay. You want to, okay. How about Nicole? How about Kathy, Amy? Brian Robles. So I'll go ahead and read Misael's statement. Since the start of this year, Woodburn has faced one challenge after another with ICE enforcement and the immigration policies of President Trump, which notably seem to disproportionately target undocumented immigrants from the South. The persecution of Latino immigrants is nothing new. Ever since the Immigration Initiative Operation Wetback was authorized from 1954 to 1959, Latinos have carried a target on their backs. Now, the most vulnerable among us, migrant students, are being targeted. These are students who came from places where the mere idea of education was never an option, students whose only crime was being born undocumented. They have worked tirelessly to honor the sacrifices their parents made to bring them here. Yet now, with the school district voting against supporting them, those sacrifices are being cast aside. The hope for a better future for themselves and for future generations feels like it was all for nothing. As a former Woodburn student, I have seen firsthand that the school district has never truly prioritized its students or teachers. In the spring of 2023, many students and educators protested after teachers were left without contracts for months. How can we as a community trust our school system when it refuses to stand by its own? Now, with the district's so-called reaffirmation of safety, it has merely reworded policies to create loopholes that allow ICE arrests. Despite my anger and disappointment in a district that has long benefited from the very people it is now abandoning, I still have hope. Many of us in this community do. That is why I want to testify and push for this reinstatement of the original safe and welcoming schools policy. It is time for the district to stand by its students, all of them. Thank you. How about, is Nicole here? No? Okay. Oh, go ahead and read hers. This is from Nicole Islas. My name is Nicole. I am in the 6th grade. I am the daughter of immigrants. I am here because I am directly impacted by the immigration policies that are targeting our communities. I am a student in Salem Kaiser, and I traveled to Woodburn to support my peers here. I hope you do the right thing and pass the first version of reaffirming safe and welcoming schools. I think this version is better because the language is better. For example, you wrote court order in the second one instead of judicial order, and that makes it confusing for staff and teachers. Sandra Hernandez.
Hello, she wasn't able to come in today, but I'm here to read her testimony. I just want to start off also by saying that discriminating people based off of their language barriers, their ability.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment.
is
You can only
illegal.
read what
Okay.
is on here.
But
If you
I'm
can
just telling
respect that
That's
space.
illegal because
I
there's a lot of people
understand.
that are illiterate.
I'm
and they can't
asking
write, and you
if
guys are
you are not
denying them
choosing
their-
to read what
their
you
opportunity.
provided.
Okay,
please.
I'll do it.
Thank you.
I would like to express my support for the first version of reaffirming safe and welcoming schools. I am disappointed at the voting turnout from February 25th, 2025. As someone who provides community resources and education to students from Woodburn School District, I take the resolution very seriously, and you should too. If you care about the students, all the students, brown students, undocumented students, documented students, students that speak Spanish, students who call Mexico their homeland, you guys wouldn't have had such a hard time voting for this. But it seems like you guys don't care about all students. That starts up by supporting the work that is being done at the school district level. Why do I support the first version? The first version has more accurate legal language. It's not a loophole that could potentially separate families. The version was more accurate, and it helped the district and the board implement resources and support and train their staff, teachers, people that work with the students every day. Recognizing a judicial arrest warrant is very important, and it's we can't really trust why you guys didn't include that language based off of your guys' actions.
Can you please read what she turned in?
Yeah, I'm reading
Please
it.
follow it, because that's not what I'm seeing here.
Okay.
Please. Thank you.
The knowledge is essential. If we want to prevent unconstitutional arrests, I see no point in this board changing the original language. It did not improve the first resolution, which was already the bare minimum. I strongly urge you to pass the first version of the resolution and ensure that there are steps that follow it through resources, training, and funding.
Thank you. Kathy?
Good evening, Superintendent, school board members, fellow teachers, students, and families. My name is Kathy Amy, and I'm a second grade teacher at Washington Elementary School. After having worked for this district for a decade, I moved my family here. I wholeheartedly believed in the work we were doing here. Woodburn School District to me was a place where your first language, race, immigration status, none of that mattered here. All that mattered was your ability and your desire to learn, to be the best version of yourself you could be. I was proud to work in Woodburn. When I was out around the state at educational conferences and people gave me funny looks or said they were sorry to hear that I worked in Woodburn. I laughed at them and said, Woodburn is incredible. So awesome. In fact, I even moved my family here and enrolled my kids in the district. That would make them pause. And I could inform them about the amazing things we have going on here. Our dual immersion programs plural, our incredible access to teacher-driven professional development, the way we support and raise up our students to be proud of their diverse cultural heritages. I thought we were on the same page. Your vote on Resolution 25001, School Board, disappointed me. I guess we're not all on the same page. After all, some board members declined to uphold the resolution due to possible federal funding issues. I was stymied by that because just prior to voting, you had received an update about said federal funding. At roughly 1 hour, 58 minutes, and 5 seconds from the previous meeting, the director of the business office said there would be no to little impact on federal funding for schools for the next school year. Additionally, she reported to you that it would take a bipartisan effort to upend school finances. The excuse of being worried about federal funding falls flat with what we now know. It is time to vote for our community. Vote to make this district a place we can be proud of again. Vote to protect our students. We are nothing without them. Vote yes for them.
Thank you. Is Brian Robles here? How about Eleida Robles? Lina Corona? Or Jones, okay. ¿Cómo te llamas? Eleida Robles y Lina Corona. Neida. Oh. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to hang tight for a little bit. I'm going to read one of the statements. So this is from Brian Robles. My name is Brian and I go to French Perry Middle School. I am the child of immigrant parents who came here for a better life. I go to school regularly, turn in my homework, do extracurricular activities, and help serve the community. However, this school board does not want to acknowledge me or others like me. This school board failed to pass Resolution 25-001, the reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. By voting against this resolution, you are telling me and youth like me that schools are not safe or welcoming, especially for immigrant and undocumented students. By voting against this resolution, you are putting even more toxic stress, fear, and anxiety on students that already are going through a lot. How can you fail to pass this resolution when Woodburn is a very diverse and immigrant-led community? How can you not pass this resolution when the community is counting on you to keep us safe? Sorry, I'm not done. Sorry. There's another page. There is nothing neutral about ICE raids, especially here in Woodburn. ICE has taken our community and family members since 2017, leaving a traumatic impact on many students' mental health. The threat of deportation is very real to many people in and outside of schools, but you chose to vote against our community. You can't worry about feedback when your own students and their families are directly targeted by ICE. You can't worry about funding if students don't show up to school because they are either deported or their families are deported. Your actions speak louder than words, and even your words have failed the community. But you have the chance to pass this resolution again. I demand that you pass the first version of Resolution 25-001 without exception. You cannot play with the community's feelings and realities, and by passing the first version, you can finally reassure students that they are safe and welcomed at school despite ICE threats. Thank you. Elena?
Yes. My name is Alida, and I'm a student at Woodburn High School. On Tuesday, February 25th, the majority of the school board member voted no on Resolution 25-001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. This resolution was a simple affirmation that our schools would remain places of safety and support for every student, regardless of their immigration status. But 3 out of 5 board members decided to vote against this. If the school district has already publicly stated that similar words and promises to our community, why is it difficult for the board members committee to not pass a resolution that simply restates the district's commitment to protecting our students? We have some board members today who oppose this. From the last meeting, all I heard were excuses. Some board members claim they understand the immigrant experience, yet vote against the community that protects our, yet vote against the community, but that votes against of the community. At a time when so many of our families are already living in constant fear due to the terrorizing that ICE brings to our communities, how dare you guys not pass this resolution? This might just seem like a paper to you all, or you may not see the value in passing this, but are you all the ones living in fear? Are you all constantly scared to attend school? Are you all scared of what is to come in the next 4 years? You were elected because you believe the community should be
Elena.
represented. You are elected because you believe that every student in Woodburn should feel safe, secured, and represented.
Elena,
Yet you shut down our
I'm
voices,
going to stop you for a
minimize our
moment,
struggles,
please.
and vote against the community.
Please
One
stop.
board member said that passing this resolution would.
You're not reading your statement as what I have here.
One board member said that passing this resolution would put a target on the back of our district and claim they would jeopardize funding. When did the fear of losing funding become more important than protecting the lives and the well-being of our students? Is standing with students too political for you? I think you are all too scared to talk about an issue that is simply not political, but a reality for many of our families in Woodburn. So why are the board members failing to take action? Superintendent Larios himself even pointed out that this resolution was a resolution that was simply a reaffirmation of the district's existing stance, which means there would be no threat to funding. So what is the real reason you all voted no? The truth is clear. You board members are not prioritizing our community needs. Right now, we need reassurance, but we are met with ignorance and dumbfounded reasons by you all. For all these reasons, I demand you all to pass the resolution 25-001, specifically the first version, because the second one belittles the community and uses vague language which allows unconstitutional acts to be made by outside forces like ICE. I am not only here to speak for those who can't attend today's meeting, but I'm here to remind you all board members that you don't run the schools, but we students do. And then I also have 2 testimonies that my friend submitted, and I was wondering if I can speak for them as well.
Yeah, those were not submitted and your time is up.
Before 5?
You have 3 minutes. And your 3 minutes are up. Thank you. Maybe Jenny can check those for you and see if they match these ones that we received without names. Again, I want to remind you that if you've submitted public comment, we're here to listen. And we're here to continue listening, but the ask here is to be respectful of our meeting process, and part of that process is to read what you did submit. And I think that's a fair ask. Is Lena here? Do you want to read? You can borrow mine. Yeah. Here, I'll just rip it up. There you go. Thank you for asking. Next on standby is Kurt Jones and Tony Salm and Susan Droke.
Hello, my name is Lena Corona and I am 18 years old. I'd appreciate it if all of you would open up your hearts and listen to my words, for all of you have been students once. From the view and voices of students that fear for their future, most things are out of our control. However, we are privileged to stand here to speak our thoughts and in hope to influence this place in our schools. I believe it is important to mention that over half of the population of students at Woodburn come from immigrant families, something I am sure that all of you have taken into consideration within your decision. I understand this decision stems from the recent challenge of facing budget cuts for schools. I understand that money is essential to keep a system running. What I don't understand is taking the risk of making students, teachers, and families feel unsafe, even worried about their future in school. So please allow me to understand. I am sure you will have been going back and forth with your decision. And if you are still confused, allow this to be your sign for your final decision. All of us in this room are worried. And most of us who care, and most of all, everyone here cares about the future of the generations yet to come. I know this is true because if it wasn't, you wouldn't be here. I know you care, so allow us to see it. As for the role of the school board, I quote from woodburnsd.org. By virtue of this responsibility, the board and each of its members must look to the future and to the needs of all district citizens. That being said, invest in our future so you build future leaders, lawyers, entrepreneurs, and so on. That will make Woodburn stronger than what it is now. I and the students in this room have dreams to raise the percentage of graduating Latinos, and we kindly ask for your support to build our foundation of a safe and inclusive environment. Only then will our history no longer be recognized as an unfortunate legacy, but as a resilient legacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt Jones.
Allow me to represent a different part of the community. My name is Kurt Jones. I'm an active Woodburn community member. I serve on many committees and positions in town, but I also serve on the leadership committee for Woodburn Young Life. Our 100% focus and commitment is to Woodburn High School students, so thank you for this opportunity. Let me begin with compassion and apology. There's no doubt that things have changed in our country. We're facing a new reality, and we're reacting to that tonight. Laws that have been ignored for decades are now being enforced. For many years, thousands of people, hundreds in our community, were invited into our country and told that everything would be well and there'd be no consequence for accepting this invitation. In short, I believe personally they were lied to by our leaders, by people who should know better, and I'm sorry on behalf of our country. I apologize to all undocumented immigrants for the deception and for the upheaval and fear created by these recent decisions to enforce the law. It's simply heartbreaking. I'm sorry for that. On a more positive note, I recently attended a roundtable discussion about immigration with area pastors and city officials, including Woodburn Police Chief Jason Milliken and our Superintendent Juan Larios. What I learned that day was good news for me, and I believe for all undocumented immigrants. As you've heard tonight, Oregon has been a sanctuary state by statute since 1987, almost 40 years. This law cannot be changed except by state legislature. Under these laws, police are forbidden to inquire into the immigration status of anyone, and they cannot arrest anyone based solely on immigration status. Also, police are forbidden to share immigration status with ICE. The school district, as you know, keeps no record of documented or undocumented. And most importantly, in my opinion, if ICE comes to a school campus in Oregon by statute since 1987, ICE can go no further than the school office ever, and they must have a warrant identifying a specific person for a specific crime other than immigration to even request to talk to a student. Therefore, the reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all resolution before us tonight is a thoughtful and very reasoned ratification of Oregon law. It is also, as you've heard from many tonight, a welcomed reassurance to all of our students and our entire community that Woodburn schools are and will continue to be a safe and welcoming refuge from the storm of fear and unrest that surrounds us. I strongly encourage the board to adopt this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony Saul?
Good evening and hello again. I was here just last week, 2 weeks ago, during public comments to offer what turned out to be a premature thank you for voting to pass the Safe and Welcoming Schools Resolution, a document that, while largely symbolic, makes a strong statement to the most vulnerable members of this community that this school district has their best interests and safety at heart. To my dismay, and as you have seen, to the dismay of many educators, families, and students in this community, this resolution was voted down by a vote of 3-2. To the 2 board members who voted yes, I do want to say thank you for understanding how important it was to get this right. One argument that was made against the resolution was that speaking out in such a fashion would make us a target for the withholding of federal funds. Such an argument, in my opinion, was not only disingenuous, but tone deaf. If the actual rationale for the board chair voting no was hesitancy about contradicting the stated wishes of the President of the United States, this person should be forthright and say so. If a majority of the school leaders can't bring themselves to simply reiterate existing policies and make a stand in defense of the community it represents, a community whose majority is Latino, then who will? Ironically, if the objective of those of you who voted no was to avoid calling attention to yourselves, well, that strategy backfired spectacularly. Now, because of those misguided no votes, close attention has been focused on you, not only in Woodburn, but around the state, and not in a good way. We do not condone the spreading of false rumors or personal attacks directed against you in the wake of the vote, and we want to make sure that you know that we were not behind any of that. However, given the unequivocal declarations coming out of Washington, D.C., that schools can no longer be sanctuaries from immigration raids, the climate of fear that exists in this community is perfectly understandable. You cannot expect people who feel themselves to be under attack to always react calmly and rationally to a school board that appears to turn a deaf ear to the very real anxieties that are felt in the community. While rational political discourse in today's world of memes and sound bites can often devolve into hyperbolic shouting matches, this is the reality we live in, and it should not mean that we should therefore hesitate to take a principled stand where it's warranted and push back forcefully when it's clearly deserved. We hope and trust that you've learned your lesson this time around and that your yes vote tonight will let it be known throughout this gloriously diverse community of Woodburn that during these traumatic moments in our history, you will have the backs of the people you're elected to serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan Droke.
Dear Woodburn School Board, I speak from my heart and my 23 years of experience as an educator in Woodburn who loves this community. I'm proud of the good work accomplished by educators and students in the Woodburn School District, which is a destination, a place of hope for many. Families take great risks because they believe in the power of work and education to improve the lives of their children. Parents trust and depend on our schools to educate and also to protect their children. I applaud board members Byer and Elwell for supporting Superintendent Larios's resolution affirming that all schools in the Woodburn School District are safe and welcoming. Although Oregon sanctuary laws provide a measure of assurance that students are safe from federal immigration operations while they are attending school, life outside of the school day in school buildings is fraught with anxiety and danger for many. The reassurance that WSD schools are safe and welcoming for all students, staff, and families is especially important in this politically unsettled moment in this country. I also appreciate Chairperson Legaspi's fiscal concern for how this resolution might affect continued federal funding. Although the current federal administration threatens public education and title programs, capitulating to the possible future demands does not guarantee the district will be spared from budget cuts. That decision is not within our control, but defending the community and upholding our values is something we can control. I appreciate the board's reconsideration of this proposal, and I hope the district will continue its commitment to its beautiful mission, vision, values, and community. Thank you.
Thank you. Rena? Is Rena Bicknell here? Quetzali? Isabella Valdeseri? Go ahead and start.
Last meeting, this board failed to pass a resolution reiterating the district's commitment to adhering to state sanctuary laws in the event that immigration enforcement should come to any of our schools. Excuses were made. It's not good enough. It's not accessible enough to families. It's not actually doing anything. It's too financially risky, somehow. It's worth noting that this discussion followed several public comments stating the grave concerns from families about their children's safety at school. Their fears were and are numerous, and for many, they are concrete. Staff across the district are doing our best to reassure families in good faith, and yet this board did not unify behind the much-needed, powerful statement of support for the community who elected them. There are students and families who have been in ICE detention, children who have been separated from their parents for months on end at single-digit ages. I have worked individually with several students who have agonized through that ordeal. Their trauma is deep and palpable, and they especially need to know if you support them now more than ever. I'll reiterate what the board member in position 1 stated last meeting, that you want to make sure you don't put unnecessary targets on your own backs, prioritizing hypothetical financial loss over actual present fears. I implore you to remember the targets already on our students' and families' backs, and then to make the statement you should have made at the last meeting. Some of you expressed concerns about accessible language. I suggest you look at the Silver Falls District entire web page dedicated to reassuring students and families of their safety and rights, the message on inclusivity and supporting immigrant students from the Central School District, the resolution passed by Portland Public Schools on January 7, and the resolution from Salem Kaiser Schools passed on January 14. It is March 11th, and our community is still waiting for this board to voice the same level of support. To the board members in positions 3 and 5 and the superintendent, thank you for supporting the words that this community so desperately needs to hear. To the board members in positions 1, 2, and 4, shame on you.
Thank you. Quetzali?
Hello, my name is Sally. I'm a Woodburn School student. School board members really consider reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. On February 25th, Lisa Carr, Rosie Burkhoff, Noemi Legaspi voted against the resolution. This has a huge impact on people emotionally and mentally. This makes students not feel safe to come to school. It's your guys' job to be able to guarantee the safety for students and parents. Education is something every human should have the right to attend. Lisa Carr, you stated some people are in crisis around there's a lot of fear and uncertainty, meaning you understand the fear but still voted against it. Noemi Legaspi, you kept mentioning about school fundings. The reason you voted against it, indicating you care more about school fundings than the safety of students. This is aggravating. The top priority for you is school fundings. Without many students in school because of fear, is the money really worth it in the end? No one is sure if school fundings will be affected. The public statement reassures students' protection. My question is, why are 3 school board members so against this? By the 3 school board members changing their opinion, the community will not have trust in you guys anymore. Every human deserves education. It's heartbreaking for students to be scared to attend school. Most of the community understand each other. We're on the same page. Why aren't you? Thank you.
Thank you. Isabella? Yes. And on standby, I will ask Ruth Herman Wells to come up and Lydia Contreras.
Good evening, Woodburn School Board. My name is Isabella Valdeseri, and I'm a junior at the Woodburn High School. Many of you may know me from my involvement in Key Club, a local service organization based at the high school, and through my various volunteer roles through the community. In addition, I serve as a Woodburn Parks and Recreation student board member and as a student advisor to the Oregon Department of Education, Latino, Latinx, and Indigenous Committee. I'm here tonight because I believe in the importance of student representation in the decision-making process that directly impacts our education and well-being. As students, we experience the policies and decisions made in this room firsthand. Yet, we often lack a direct voice in shaping them. That absence of representation became especially evident after the failure of Resolution number 25001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. Many of my peers have since expressed feelings of anxiety, uncertainty, and frustration, and as they struggle to feel heard and valued in their own school community. To address this, I propose that the school board establish a student board member position, modeled after the structure of the Woodburn Parks and Recreation Board. This position will allow a student representative to serve as a liaison between the board and the student body, offering valuable insight into student concerns, priorities, and experiences. That initiative is not unprecedented. Across the state and country, school boards have successfully incorporated student representatives who provide meaningful contribution to policy discussions, bridge communication gaps, and enhance student-adult collaboration. The presence of the student voice at the table will demonstrate a commitment to inclusivity and student-centered decision-making, reinforcing the board's dedication to truly serve its students. At a time when division and distrust has grown, We need to take tangible steps towards rebuilding relationships and strengthening our community. Establishing a student board member position is a meaningful step into that direction. It will send a powerful message to students that our voices matter, that our experiences are valued, and that we have a role in shaping the future of our education. I urge you to consider this proposal and look forward to working together to make Woodburn schools a place where all students feel represented, supported, and heard. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thanks. Isabella?
Ruth? Okay, I'll go ahead and read her statement. I call for the school board members who voted against the resolution to protect immigrant students to resign immediately. You should not be in any position involving children if your enraged community and a group of courageous students have to unite to angrily insist that you take a stand against children being separated from their families and potentially becoming orphans. If you had failed to take a stand against child abuse, there would be no question that you would be removed. If potentially orphaning children is not child abuse, I don't know what is. You cannot come back from this fundamental failure, but you can make amends by doing the right thing and apologizing, resigning, and walking out the door right now. The remaining board members must also apologize to the brave students who risked sanctions to stage a protest against obvious injustice and inhumanity. What has Woodburn School District become when our students have to protest to say what should be utterly obvious? Tearing children from their families is wrong, wrong, wrong. Thank you. Lydia?
Good afternoon. My name is Lidia Contreras. I'm a second grade teacher at Washington Elementary. With me, my 2-year-old daughter, who will be one of our students in a few years. Today, I stand here not only for myself, but for my family, my colleagues, but most importantly, for my students. I'm here in hopes of raising awareness on some of the struggles I'm facing in the classroom. It's not about the curriculum, tests, or projection maps. It's about the emotional safeness I'm seeing my students struggle with. From presidential elections in November, which, by the way, is when the Woodburn Education Association first reached out with concerns, to last week's or 2 weeks meeting when the board decided to vote down Resolution 25-001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. I felt betrayed and confused, preventing me from performing my job duties to the best of my abilities. I was left wondering what this meant in my role as a teacher, as a parent, and as a community member. During class, I've had students tell me things like, ¿sabías que la migra ya puede entrar a las escuelas? And, maestra, ¿qué pasa si nos deportan a todos? And, mi papá dijo que yo tengo que ir a la tienda sola a comprar las cosas que necesitamos y él me va a esperar en el carro porque la policía se lo puede llevar. Y mi mamá tiene que estar en la casa con él. Please remember that those are 8-year-old children, and my classroom is just one of many facing this concern. Please help me understand how I can stand in front of my students each day without calling them out for being distracted when I know their minds are elsewhere. As a teacher, how can I make them feel safe when some have heard the backlash our district is facing from the community? How will the school board help me and other educators rebuild the trust that the school board has broken? How can we support my students? Would you be interested in coming into my classroom and speaking to them? Would you like to inform them that although we live in a sanctuary state and live in a community where downtown yells, Viva Mexico, Viva Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, y como dice la canción, y pueblos que voy pasando, with its beautiful and colored murals, the school board's decision reflects different priorities. One that seems to favor financial concerns over protecting our communities and embracing our identity as a multilingual district that serves students from diverse backgrounds. We need leaders who not only speak about our district values, but also stand firmly behind them. I hope you choose to do what's right for me, for our students, by voting yes. That way tomorrow, we can begin a new day in the classroom with one less worry. Thank you.
Thank you. I will be reading the next statement written by Catherine Wells Murdoch. Seeing Woodburn School District in the news recently, memories came back of working with the district when I was the attorney with the Oregon Department of Education from 1985 to 1997. Woodburn School District at that time strived to give their students not only a quality education, but full access to the public education system, which was not always easy. With a number of students belonging to the Russian Orthodox Old Believers, the district at times faced unique constitutional issues, illuminating the doctrine of separation of church and state into its everyday impact on students. Two compassionate accommodations by the district still stand out in my memory. One, the hot lunch program. To the best of my memory of the event over 25 years ago, the students who were Old Believers could not eat the hot lunches prepared at schools because they were prepared by non-believers. In consultation with parents, the district came up with a solution. An Old Believer could bless the cafeteria and their workers. This was done when no students were present. Non-believers were not impacted, and the blessing would accommodate the Old Believers' religious beliefs so their students could participate in the hot lunch program. Issue solved for the benefit of the students. Two, the interscholastic wrestling program. The rules of Old Believers require that males not shave, but the rules of Oregon Schools Activities Association require that high school male wrestlers be clean-shaven. Woodburn School District filed a complaint against the OSAA to request a religious exemption to their students, so their students could participate with whatever facial hair they might have. The matter came before State Superintendent Vern A. Duncan, who ruled that Oregon's constitutional protection of a person's right to worship according to the dictates of their conscience, which is in the case of the Old Believers, require that they not shave, overrides the OSAA rules for shaving facial hair before wrestling matches. Issue solved for the benefit of the students. In both cases, the Woodburn School District took appropriate steps to protect their students to ensure that every student could fully and freely participate in all school activities. I had a great deal of respect for the school board and superintendent of Woodburn School District, who, amid difficult constitutional issues, always placed the students first. I encouraged the current board to choose the action embodied in the district's mission statement, vision statement, and value statement, and uphold resolution number 25-001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. This follows the board's long-standing tradition to welcome, support, protect, and ensure the safety and educational rights of their students, all for their students. That includes the 87% Hispanic Latino students whose attendance generates considerable Oregon State basic school support funds that are used for the educational and well-being of all students in the Woodburn School District. Thank you. Jaime Rodriguez, Debbie Cabrales, Carol Kramer.
Dear Woodburn School Board, My name is Jaime Rodriguez, and I'm a Woodburn resident and voter with several nephews and nieces who have or currently attend Woodburn schools. I'm here today to urge the board to pass a safe school resolution, ensuring our schools are safe havens for immigrant students and their families. In our current social political climate, it is essential to affirm our commitment to the values and inclusivity, compassion, and equality for our students. Every student, regardless of their background, deserve an environment where they can grow, learn, thrive, and succeed without fear or discrimination. Immigrant students face unique challenges and anxieties that can impact their academic performance and emotional well-being. By accepting this resolution, we are not only upholding the principles, the priorities of our educational system, but also setting a precedent for other institutions to follow. This resolution is not a policy, it's a pledge and a promise to protect and to nurture the diverse student tapestry that enriches our Woodburn school community. It is a collective responsibility to ensure that every student feels valued and secured. Allow them to come to school to learn and be safe. I respectfully ask you to support this resolution for the sake of all our students and the future of our inclusive community, society. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully, Jaime Rodriguez.
Thank you.
Sí se puede.
Debbie.
School Board Chair Noemi Legaspi, Vice Chair Rosie Burkhoff, School Board members. My name is Debbie Cabrales, and I'm the Executive Director of Centro de Servicios para Campesinos here in Woodburn. Our organization is dedicated to providing immigration integration services to our community and the surrounding areas. Today, I am speaking not only on behalf of my organization, but also as a community member, an alumni of the Woodburn School District, the daughter of immigrants, and most importantly, as a mother of a child attending the Woodburn School District. I stand here today to advocate for our students. The school board must pass the original resolution number 25-001, which reaffirms Oregon's sanctuary state law, an essential law that protects the safety, dignity, and human rights of all Oregonians. This law passed in 1987, and it was created to ensure that Black and brown individuals who represent over 80% of the Woodburn School District population can attend school without fear of discrimination based on their race or ethnicity. Chair Legaspi, during your re-election campaign in 2021, you shared your personal story as a first-generation daughter of farm-working immigrants, emphasizing your understanding of the students you serve. Today, I ask you, do you truly understand the community you serve? Do you comprehend the fear instilled in our families by your vote, along with the two other school board members who voted against resolution number 25-001? This is the time when neutrality is no longer an option. As a mother, a daughter, and someone who has witnessed the struggles of our children firsthand, I urge you to reflect on the impact your decision has on our community. Our children are terrified at the thought of ICE officers entering their schools. Your vote in favor of the original resolution would simply reaffirm the sanctuary laws already in place to protect them. Your concerns about federal funding raised at the last school board meeting missed the point. The question should not be about money, but about the safety and well-being of our children. If our students feel unsafe, their families will not send them to school, which will in turn affect federal funding in a much more significant way. Your question suggested that you value financial concerns over student safety. We elect you to ensure our students' safety is always a priority for you as a school board. Other school districts, such as Salem Kaiser, have already passed similar resolutions, ensuring that their students and families feel safe in their schools. I urge you to follow their example and pass the original resolution number 25-001. Our children deserve to attend school without fear, and their families deserve to send them knowing they are safe. And school board member Lisa Carr, I hope whatever's in your phone is more important than what we're testifying today. Thank you.
Carol? Carol Kramer? Hey, Carol. How about Jason? Is Jason here? How about Crystal Campuzano? Irma Mendoza Velázquez? Gianna Simon? Chelsea Frankovich? Welcome.
Okay. To our superintendent, thank you for your leadership starting last year by helping us as school district employees understand how to navigate these times, and for your repeated assurances to our community that our schools are safe. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to School Board Positions 3 and 5 for your yes votes and comments at the February 25 meeting. The remainder of my comments are specifically for Positions 1, 2, and 4, who voted down Resolution 25-001. Positions 1, 2, and 4. You refused to acknowledge the fears and anxiety of our community by not assuring us that you, the school board, stand with Oregon's sanctuary laws and that you, the school board, will be sure they are followed. The lack of easing these fears has led people to believe the school our board chair, knowing professionally the toll on the mental health of the community at this time and voting against the resolution is particularly disturbing. Refusing to assure safety is shocking and unconscionable. In our classrooms, we universally teach 3 prime directives: that we are safe, that we are respectful, and that we are responsible human beings. Positions 1, 2, and 4, you have failed each of these directives with your no votes. To literally refuse to reassure our community that our schools are safe is disrespectful and cowardly. Shame on you. Voting for the original resolution tonight, 25-001, is your prime responsibility.
Thank you. Another call for Jason? I will go ahead and read his statement. As a career and technical education business teacher, I am deeply disappointed by the Woodburn School Board's decision to reject a resolution affirming its commitment to all students regardless of immigration status. This resolution, entirely non-binding, was a simple yet powerful affirmation that every student in the district deserves to feel safe, valued, and supported. The reasoning behind this rejection, rooted in fear of reprisal from the Trump administration, is both troubling and disheartening. Leadership is not about fear. It is about standing firm in the face of uncertainty, particularly when the well-being of students is at stake. Woodburn, a community with a significant Latino population, had an opportunity to lead by example, showing its young people that their school district stands unwaveringly behind them. Instead, it has sent the opposite message, that political Expediency outweighs student dignity. My own children attend Beaverton schools, a district with significantly smaller Latino population per capita, yet they had no issue passing a similar resolution. If Beaverton can do this without hesitation, why can't Woodburn? This is not a legal battle, it is a moral one. It is about ensuring that every student, regardless of background, knows that their school district recognizes their worth. In business education, we teach students about ethical leadership, corporate responsibility, and workplace culture, principles that extend far beyond the boardroom and into everyday life. Leadership is not about avoiding discomfort. It is about making principled choices even when they are not easy. The Woodburn School Board's failure to pass this resolution is a failure of leadership. To the students and families of Woodburn, please know that your value is not determined by a school board vote. Your resilience, contributions, and presence in this community matter. And to the educators who continue to support and advocate for these students, keep going. True leadership does not always come from elected officials. Sometimes it comes from the classrooms, the hallways, and the unwavering voices that refuses to let fear dictate their principles. Is Crystal here? Okay. Can you read that? Irma Mendoza Velázquez. Sí, está bien. My name is Irma Mendoza Velázquez, and I am a community member, a pecunista, and a mother of children who attended Woodburn Public Schools about 10 years ago. I am very disappointed in the recent action taken by the school board in rejecting the reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all resolution. I ask the board to reconsider this decision and uphold their commitment to keeping all students and families safe in our schools. Thank you. Gracias, Irma. Gianna Simon.
My name is Jonna Simon. I'm a speech language pathologist here in Woodburn at the high school. Working in Woodburn, I expected the district to come out in strong support of our students. I expected leadership from the administration. I kept waiting, but my wait was met largely by silence. I'm dismayed and disheartened by the inaction taken by the school board in voting 3-2 against reaffirming support for immigrant students. It sends a very clear message to students, families, the community, and staff that you do not value, honor, or wish to protect them. You cited fear of losing federal funding. That's called complying in advance with the very real threats being made to public education. Meanwhile, Eugene District 4J has joined a lawsuit seeking to block federal guidance that is disrupting operations and will destabilize funding resources and undermine educational programs and efforts that support the success of all students. Their school board chair announced their decision to join a coalition of plaintiffs on February 26th, just 12 days after the Department of Education's February 14th Dear Colleague letter. I urge you not to sit by idly on the sidelines as the country is being dismantled. Vote in favor of reaffirming support for immigrant students and follow 4J's lead in joining the fight. If we don't all fight together, there will be nothing left to fight for. Thank you.
Thank you. Chelsea? Is Alondra Sanchez here? Marlene Robles? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Chelsea Frankovich, and I've worked my entire career at Woodburn High School for the past 23 years. Woodburn School District has promoted the notion of the importance of care and connection and a sense of belonging in recent years, something that staff, parents, and the community members naturally do every day. Ensuring that students feel welcome, cared for, and safe in schools is our #1 priority. On February 25th, 3 Woodburn School District board members chose not to support a resolution that ensures that students, families, community members, and staff feel welcome, cared for, and safe in our schools. This is unacceptable, and it undermines what our schools aim to do every day. There seems to be a disconnect between what our schools promote and do and what some members of the school board have chosen to message to the community. The message received by their votes was one of disrespect. Staff are hurt, community members are hurt, families are hurt, and most importantly to note, students are hurt. I hope that all members of our school board can reflect and remember who they're representing and serving in the Woodburn School District. It is their job as well to ensure that students, staff, and families feel welcome, cared for, and safe in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Marlene Robles here? Rick Puente. Okay.
To the Woodburn School Board Chair Noemi Legaspi, Vice Chair Rosie Burkhoff, and all school board members, on behalf of students, community members, and immigrant justice organizations, we demand that the Woodburn School Board takes the stance to support the safety and welcoming of all students, okay? By passing the first version of the resolution 25001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. We are extremely disappointed in the recent actions taken by the school board, which resulted in the failed passing of the reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. On February 25th, 2025, this action contradicts the collective values of the Woodburn community members. It stands against Oregon's sanctuary status, and it creates systemic risk towards our immigrant families. In the 2023-2024 school year alone, 87% of Woodburn students and 42% of teachers identify as Latino or Hispanic. A majority of Woodburn residents also come from immigrant families. Immigrant families are currently facing increased toxic stress and fear as a result of federal immigration enforcement that have resulted in targeted and even mass immigration raids around the country. While some board members have suggested that this is just a political issue, the threat of immigration raids and deportation brings real, long-term impacts to the students that the Woodburn School Board represents. Our public schools must do everything in their power to create a safe and accessible learning environment for all students, regardless of their immigration status, by reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all. Our school board commits to uplifting Woodburn School District's current policy that is intended to eliminate barriers that may prevent students from attending school. While symbolic for some, passing resolution 25001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all, is an important step to protect the students that you represent from discrimination, hate, and the increasing systemic violence. We expect that you, as our electors, school leaders, will take the correct stance and pass this resolution. Thank you.
Again, for Marlene Robles. Okay. My name is Marlene. I am a student at Woodburn High School. Growing up in a household where my parents came to this country with hopes for a better life, I've always been taught the value of education. My parents worked tirelessly to provide for me, always pushing me to excel in school so that I could have opportunities they never had. For them, education was a way out of the hardships they faced as immigrants. But as I've progressed through school, I faced challenges that go beyond textbooks and exams, challenges that have shaken my sense of security, my ability to focus on my studies, and in many cases, my ability to feel safe. Students deserve to have a say in this welcoming and safe school resolution. I am here today to demand that you school board members pass the resolution 25-001, version 1.
Este comentario es de parte de Cristal Campuzano. And board members, you can listen in. They're going to translate it for you into English. En mi opinión, todas las personas somos iguales, tanto ciudadanos americanos como los mexicanos. Todas las personas tenemos los mismos derechos como seres humanos que somos. Es una injusticia que le quiten el privilegio de una educación escolar a los estudiantes inmigrantes, porque todos merecemos estudiar y seguir nuestros sueños. Estados Unidos no es nada sin los inmigrantes. El trabajo que hace un americano en una semana, un mexicano lo hace en 2 días. No hay nadie que haga el trabajo de un mexicano. Todo esto es una total injusticia. Todos somos humanos que queremos que se pongan en nuestro lugar. Queremos una mejor vida, queremos una escuela segura, queremos respeto para nuestro México. Yo también soy hija de padres mexicanos y no me avergüenzo de venir de raíces mexicanas.
Leslie Munoz. Is Magali Navarrete here? And Nevia Robles. Welcome.
Good evening, board members. My name is Liz Marquez, and I'm here on behalf of State Representative Leslie Munoz, who couldn't join us tonight, so I'll read her comments. Members of the Woodburn School Board, my name is Leslie Munoz, and I'm honored to serve as the state representative for House District 22, which includes Woodburn, Jervis, Brooks, and North Salem. Our state and Woodburn are enriched by the diversity of experiences, cultures, and traditions that all of us, including immigrants, bring to our neighborhoods in Oregon. People make Oregon their home because they dream of what we all want: to live safely, care for their families, and contribute to their communities. Many face unimaginable circumstances and are fleeing religious persecution or political violence. In 1987, Oregon became the first sanctuary state, demonstrating our values of dignity, safety, and human rights for everyone, regardless of their immigration status. And we are currently witnessing how our immigrant community's dignity, safety, and human rights are being threatened. Our local leaders here in Woodburn have shared their commitment to uphold our state's sanctuary laws to protect our community. It's time our school district did the same. With 87% of the student population being of Latinx descent, this resolution, while symbolic, is important because our students need to know they are welcomed and are safe coming to school. The resolution affirms the Woodburn School District's commitment to supporting inclusive school environments where all students, staff, and families feel safe and welcomed. Chronic absenteeism is already a huge issue. You are concerned that approving this resolution would affect funding, but we risk losing funding if students are too afraid to go to school because they don't feel safe and supported. In history class, we are taught about how groups of people have been marginalized and attacked throughout history. We are currently living in a moment where a group of people are under attack, and our children are watching how we as adults are responding and reacting. It's important to set an example for our children that we live up to our values and that everyone, regardless of their immigration status, should be treated with dignity and respect, and that they are safe and welcome. I urge you to have the courage to vote with compassion to keep all students safe. Please pass this resolution and show our community that you serve, that you care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Magali. Magali.
I'll be reading a statement on behalf of Julia Vera, who couldn't be here.
Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Julia Vera. He trabajado aquí en este lindo distrito por más de 20 años. Mi punto es que he venido a recordarles que ustedes han jurado proteger a cada uno de los estudiantes que asisten a nuestro distrito escolar de Woodburn, sin importar qué color de piel tienen ni de qué estatus de inmigración son. Somos un solo grupo, pero voy a refrescarles la memoria a ustedes. ¿Son ustedes nativas americanas o sus antepasados vinieron en un bote o brincaron el alambrado? Porque la comunidad y yo podemos ver que ustedes están en el lugar equivocado. No tienen ese amor y respeto a diferentes razas, porque el racismo es canijo. Muestran cómo sus hechos que son racistas, porque con las decisiones que tomaron la semana pasada, les voy a decir lo que provocaron. Las familias de inmigrantes latinos y rusos están teniendo un estrés insoportable. El miedo que tienen constantemente y lo peor del caso es que lo estamos viendo en las escuelas. Los niños no están asistiendo a clases por el temor de ser tenidos y separados por sus familias. El miedo de lo que esto está provocando por decisiones mal tomadas. Es tiempo de que nuestros niños no sean discriminados, odiados y hasta violentados. No provoquen esto, pero ahora está en sus manos proteger a cada uno de los estudiantes del distrito escolar de Woodburn, reafirmando que nuestras escuelas van a estar seguras y que cada niño va a ser bienvenido sin importar el estatus migratorio. Tengo esta petición firmada por la comunidad y por mí. Dice que ustedes tres deben de dejar la posición. Good afternoon. My name is Julia Vera. I have worked here in the beautiful district for over 20 years. My point here is that I have come to remind you that you have sworn to protect each student who attends our Woodburn School District, and you have failed. No matter what color of the skin is or what their immigration status is, we are one group. However, I'm going to refresh your memory. Are you Native American, or did your ancestors come by boat, or did they jump the fence? Because Woodburn community and I can see that you are in the wrong place. You do not have love and respect for different races, because racism is meaning you show with your actions that you are racist. Because with the decisions you have made the last week, I'm going to tell you what you cost to immigrants. Latino and Russian families are having unbearable stress. The fear they constantly have, and the worst of it is that we are seeing in our schools that students are not attending for fear of being detained and separated from their families. The fear of what all of this is causing due to your bad decisions. It is time for our students to be protected, not to be discriminated against, hated, and even violated. Do not cause more pain to Woodburn families. Please stop. Stop it. Now it is in your hands to protect each student in the Woodburn School District by reaffirming that our schools will be safe and that each student will be welcomed regardless of immigration status. I have this petition signed by the community and myself. It says that all three of you must step down.
Thank you. Is Nidia Robles?
Before I get started, I want to share an experience that I was once that little girl.
Sorry, I'm going to stop you right there. Are you reading what I have?
I just want to share something real quick.
Please.
I used to be that little girl crying under the sheet.
You can choose to disrespect
thinking
the process,
that
and
you're
that is your
disrespecting
choice.
our community, immigrant community. Now I have 3 minutes to speak.
You have 3
I
minutes
used
to
to
share
be-
what is in your
I
statement.
used to be that little girl crying under the sheets that my parents were going to be ripped apart.
Are you going to choose to follow process? Otherwise, we have to cancel.
Now it's my time to speak up.
If you would
For
like,
those kids
no,
that
I'm
are
sorry.
they're living in fear.
So I'm sorry. There's Superintendent Larios. What is the process here? Okay. We're going to call a recess. 5 minutes. We're going to call a recess. And we're going to ask to step out. Excuse me? Okay. So I'd like to resume this meeting. We have public comment that we've sat through here and want to listen. There's also a process to follow, and that is my ask, is that we follow the process. And so if you do not read what I have, I do need to stop and interrupt you and ask you to either read what you have or be done. And so if we cannot continue, I will have to adjourn this meeting, which I do not want to do. And I'm pretty certain that you do not want that to happen. So if we can work together, I see and I validate each and every one of you for how you feel. I understand. I hear you. Okay. And so if we can be attentive, if we can follow process, that is my ask. So our next, I'm going to invite Maria Erika Guevara.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es María Erika Guevara.
Good afternoon, my name is Maria Erika Guevara.
Desde hace tiempo nuestros derechos como padres están siendo atropellados.
For a long time, our rights as a parent has been tempted upon.
El hecho de pedirnos que enviemos previamente
The fact that we ask to submit our written statements
nuestro escrito para ser aprobado,
for prior approval
si se podrá leer frente a
before we
los
can read
miembros.
them in front of the members.
Antes llegabas y
It's
te
unacceptable.
inscribías,
Before you could just arrive and sign up.
te llamaban y te podías expresar.
They will call your name and you could express yourself.
Ahora se siente la presión y burla al venir a leer algo que probablemente ustedes ya han leído.
Now there is a pressure and ridicule for me to come and read to something that you already have seen.
En este punto tengo preguntas. ¿Quién hace las reglas?
This raised the question that who makes the rules
¿Y a beneficio de quiénes?
and who benefits from them?
Porque los únicos que no salen afectados son los que tienen el poder de hacer las decisiones.
Because the only ones who are unaffected are those who have the power to make decisions.
Para mí sus reglas están basadas en su propio beneficio y dónde queda la comunidad vulnerable.
To me, those rules are based on their own benefits, leaving the community vulnerable.
Con el miedo que se ha creado en nuestro pueblo y escuelas sobre lo que está pasando a nivel nacional.
With the fear that has been instilled in our people and schools regarding what is happening at the national level,
y miembros de la mesa que se opusieron a reafirmar que están con nosotros y decidieron no hacerlo.
some members who wanted to speak up and support us and decide not to do so, thinking that they will not be affected.
¿Creen que tal vez no serán afectados? Mas, sin embargo, sus hijos conviven con los nuestros y siguen creciendo por sus amigos y familia.
However, their children coexist with ours, and our children are affected, so are their families.
Nuestra comunidad merece tener personas ocupando esos lugares que transmitan confianza, no miedo.
Our community deserves to have people in these positions who inspire us trust, not fear.
Gracias a dos de los miembros.
Thank you to the members.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Ustedes son los únicos que entienden el temor que siente nuestra comunidad.
Who understand the fear that is being experienced at this moment from our community.
Y a los demás no les puedo dar las gracias. Lo siento. Sería
And I
muy mal
cannot thank the other ones because I don't feel to do that, and that will be bad.
Gracias. Next, we have Debbie Patton. She will be speaking from online. Can you hear us, Debbie?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I am ready when you are.
Okay. Dear school board members and Superintendent Larios, as a retired teacher from the district, I'm still very committed to the Woodburn community. I would like to implore you to maintain an inclusive, safe learning environment for all students, families, and staff. Years ago, when raids were happening, I remember a colleague talking about one of their kids coming home from elementary school crying because they were worried about their friends being taken away or separated from their families. Woodburn Strong is about the we. So you can't cause harm to part without injuring us all. How much will it cost to repair the damage, such as we've heard tonight? There is no guarantee we will lose funding no matter what we do. I am saddened that Woodburn has been so delinquent in this realization. Are the district's values so easily swayed by unguaranteed funding? We used to be the leaders in inclusive education despite the cost. Appreciate your consideration. And students did an amazing job talking tonight. I hope you're proud of them.
Yeah. Thank you, Debbie. Next, Niket Ovshinnikov.
Hello.
Welcome.
I'm here today to show my support for the school board and the work you guys have been doing over the last couple of years. Also, I support your no vote on resolution 25-001. Thank you for all the hard work you guys put in and the late meetings away from your families. You have my and my family's support on this, and also the support of a lot of people in this community. Thank you for keeping your focus on giving kids a quality education. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Daisy Chavez. Daisy?
Good evening. My name is Daisy Chavez. I'm a former Woodburn School District student and the current program manager at the local food bank here in downtown Woodburn. Over the past several weeks, we have witnessed the community become increasingly anxious because of the recent events at the national level. As an organization, we faced a lot of uncertainty. We asked ourselves, what can we do? What should we say? And how can we help? Many of us who work in the local nonprofit sector got together and quickly realized something. Words of reassurance and education can go a long way. We've worked and continue to work with many community leaders to share information, resources, and updates about what's going on, not just with each other, but with the families we serve. It may seem like not much is being done, but in consistently sending out reminders, updates, and information, we as in community leaders are reminding those we serve that we are here to support, educate, and answer questions and concerns. When I heard about the decision on resolution number 25-001, I was shocked and disappointed. Neighboring school districts had no issue passing similar resolutions. What made it different in Woodburn? With the federal funding cuts and new executive orders, I acknowledge the very real concern for budget cuts. But as one board member stated in the previous meeting, the school board should not operate off of fear. These messages have been coming out, and I trust will continue to come out regardless of today's outcome. This resolution does not make us a target. It's Oregon. Like many other sanctuary states, we're already a target. When I rewatched the February 25th meeting on YouTube at 2:41:26, in response to the resolution, one board member said, "Aren't we already trying to make campuses as safe as possible with our officers? We already have lockdowns and protocols in place." Then at 3:06:12, this board member says, immigration has always been an issue. I've seen ICE vehicles around the state of Oregon all the time. The comments made here are insensitive and oblivious to the issue being discussed. As a board member, it is your duty to educate yourself about the issues our families are facing. It is extremely concerning that this board member seems to not understand the importance and urgency of this topic. The piece of paper in front of you can be perceived as just that, a piece of paper with a bunch of words. The reality is, it's much more than that. This is about standing together to send out a message of support. It's standing in solidarity with our students, family, and the community. As a community partner and lifelong resident of Woodburn, I'm here today to urge you to stand firmly and strongly with Woodburn students, families, and community members. Your actions today will be remembered by every single person in this room, those watching from home, and by many more. Thank you.
Thank you. So I want to share that that concludes our public comment. I do appreciate each and every one of you who shared and those who are present here. If you give me a moment, I will grab my agenda. So normally in most of our meetings, the board does not engage in public comment or provide feedback. Today, in consultation with the Oregon School Board Association, as we talked about what the structure of this meeting would look like, one is to listen. And that's why we're here. And so we normally don't engage, but this is an opportunity for board members to share maybe, your thoughts based, so an opportunity to process what we've heard. Jenny can double check that with you. So we'll go ahead and proceed as Jenny confirms that comment. So any thoughts?
Do you want to go to any order or just?
I think any order, I think it's a lot that we listen to, right? And it's a lot of emotion and a lot of words and a lot of what has been shared. And so I think you don't have to go in any specific order.
Well, then I'll go first.
Sure.
First, I have a lot to say about this board and how disappointed I was a few weeks ago, how shameful it was, but I want to try to move forward. I just have a few key points. First off, this resolution did nothing but to support current school policy and current state law. It didn't go beyond state law. It didn't go beyond existing state policy. It was a message stating that we were upholding state law. We're upholding our Oregon sanctuary state law. It was nothing more than that. During that last meeting when we voted when it didn't pass, at the time, we didn't receive a single public comment not supporting that resolution. Every public comment that we received was in support of passing it. We didn't receive a public comment asking it to be reworded or for us to go back and rethink it. We had 100% please pass it. And then since then, we've had actually a couple of comments in support of not passing it, but the overwhelming majority, our community, it's been very clear that this is important, that we need to pass it, and we serve our community. The suggestion that passing this resolution would put a target on Woodburn. There's no evidence of that. There's already a target on Oregon as a sanctuary state. There's already a target on Woodburn because of our demographics. And so if anyone thinks that not passing this resolution will save us from not losing funding, then we haven't been paying attention. Because so instead, so we just need to pass this. I encourage my board members that instead of, we just need to have our heads held high, our eyes wide open, and standing shoulder to shoulder with our community and our school board and our students and our families. And just today, the administration pulled over billions of dollars in federal funding for our food programs. Resolution passed or not, not passing this resolution isn't going to save us from not losing federal funding. So we might as well, we need to stand shoulder to shoulder in partnership with our community. We have to send a message that we have our children's back, that we support them. These are our most vulnerable kids in our community, that they need our protection the very most. We did a lot of damage to our community. We lost trust in our community, and we're gonna have to work really hard to get it back. We're gonna have to work, and passing this resolution today is gonna salvage some of it, but the damage has been done, and we're gonna have to work really hard to get that back. And sending a message that we prioritize funding over children, it breaks my heart. And so, so after we've all had a chance to speak, I will be making a motion to rescind our previous decision, and we'll vote again on resolution number 25001.
Hi, as your newest board member, this is my third meeting, and I have been thrown in the deep end, and I just want to support my entire board that I believe all was done, our last meeting was done in good conscience. I appreciate people who've brought facts to tonight's meeting. That's been helpful to me. We've done work. I just want to go over, and thank you for those of you who took the time to listen to a board meeting online. I appreciate that. And those of you who haven't, I invite you to do that. And I would invite you to hear more than just the final outcome. What was discussed, I, nor any of my board members, said there was not need for our community to know that they are safe, protected by law, and that we are working hard for our kids. I learned last week after a presentation, we have the #1 preschool program, the highest rated in Oregon. And that is a lot to be proud of. It's highly dependent on federal funds. I had come from a conference in San Diego 48 hours prior to that vote. People are losing their entire careers. Not millions, billions are set to be cut, and they've already started. People in Woodburn have lost not just their professional funding, but their private livelihoods. So this is real to me. And if I may, Rosie and I specifically said, we want to look into this. It's on the agenda for next week. And I hear the perception, and that was not the intent. But nevertheless, perception is huge. And the good news is you guys have a vote. And the reason we are in this position is because nationally, people made a decision to vote. Votes matter. I'm grateful to live in Oregon, where my values are supported by my leaders and laws have been passed. I cannot emphasize how important education, whether it's in school or out of school, working within the system is how you change the system. And to have a voice, you have to have the facts. Unfortunately, that's not true. Because a lot of people, and I'm disappointed that people who have the facts chose to not spread the facts. Instead of helping people understand there was going to be a second vote, they spread the misinformation that ICE was being allowed and that we would support that. And that's just patently false. So in humility, I want to come to you. I will not always be as perfect as I wish I was, but I came prepared to vote. And the fact that I have heard so many people tonight say that they support the first resolution versus the second one will inform my vote. So your voices do matter. And I'd love to see all of you back for the next one. That we need community, and our community is divided. And that's not going to serve anybody. We have to come together. And to assume the worst intents, that I am just being judged by my skin color. I don't assume that. Well, why would that be? I'm being judged by my vote, right? Right? My vote. And I would continue that we invite each other to look at our actions, right? And that we just come together as neighbors and work together. And again, I appreciate your voices. And I want to highlight our kids' writing. Excellent. And that gives me a lot of encouragement. And I know from my children's own personal education, they got a good one here in Woodburn. And we have some of the hardest working teachers in the state of Oregon. And they deserve lots of applause. So thank you.
So I feel the same way that I did at the previous meeting. I appreciate everyone coming and sharing and voicing your truth. I appreciate your passion so much. It brings me to tears, honestly, because I feel the same way that you do about our students. And I am voting the same way. I do believe in the first resolution. I disagree with the second resolution because I don't appreciate modifying the language. I don't like dumbing it down. I believe that the first resolution was what we needed, and that's why I voted like I did. And you know, everything that we provide to our students, everything that's written in this district, from the student handbook to the language that's given to the parents, that is written on our strategic plan, is of a language that is comparable to the resolution. We don't have to present anything that is, you know, fifth grade or anything different. I believe that it is totally acceptable. I appreciate the resolution number 25001, and if I can beat Director Byer to it, I will probably make the motion myself. I just appreciate everyone showing up, and I wish you guys were here every meeting.
Well, I'm sorry. I would just like to ask what our position is here. Our role, we were elected to focus on students and education. And by bringing this resolution to the board, to the agenda, I say shame on us, shame on our educators, and shame on our board members, because we have brought destruction. The focus off education, the focus off our students, the focus off safety. This is a political agenda. This is a political topic. It doesn't belong here on the school board. We are here to support our children. We are role models to our children. And what are we doing? We're showing disruption in the school district, disruption for them to leave the school instead of be educated. Shame on us. You know, misinformation, bullying, attacks. This is not the way we're supposed to show our parents, us as role models of what our children are supposed to be as community members of future leaders. We are leaderships, and this is pretty sad. I really, really am disappointed on all of us and our educators. This is a disruption. We need to focus on our students' education. They are not learning in school what they're required to, but all of this. So, and I'm sorry. Education, so students over money. If our funding locally or state is cut, students don't matter, safety don't matter, because we cannot function without that funding. And unfortunately, if that funding gets cut, everything gets shut down. And nobody realizes that, because people, yes, local will get cut or state will get cut. We don't know that.
This is an opportunity to please listen.
We allowed you guys to speak.
Order, please.
Now we're speaking.
Okay.
And unfortunately, this disruption doesn't show that education is important.
Okay. I'm going to ask that we be attentive and respectful. I have something that I wrote. And this is hard because many of you have said, you know, I'm Latina, and you know what? I am. My father was a campesino. I'm a first-generation college-going student of a family of 15. I know the struggle. For those of you who come up and again judge and provide misinformation, I hope that you find the real information. Whatever that might be for you, I hope that you do find that. So this evening, I want to clarify again what Director Lisa Carr had mentioned and what happened in the previous meeting. There was a vote. However, at the end of the meeting, the board decided to add the same agenda item to the next meeting. And it was very disappointing to see organizations and individuals spread misinformation and only share partial information. And that partial information was the board voted no. Yet, not one of you and none of these organizations mentioned that there would be a revote. And I didn't hear that today. And I didn't hear that or see that on social media. For the person who said that they weren't a part of this, I know, and names have been shared with me, names of organizations have been shared with me, messages have been shared with me, parents have come to me and said, why are staff at the high school sharing certain information with my students? So this has caused division. The reason, in my belief, that other students and families are not here is for the exact reason that of what happened. You want to call it bullying, you want to call it justice, you want to call it, I don't know, protesting via social media, give it whatever name you want to give it. It is never okay, at least as a Latina, to show disrespect, regardless of your own beliefs. But maybe that's just my own family. And so what I'm saying here is that this misinformation led to what has happened in this last week or two. which is very disheartening. It's very disappointing. And I hope that we can do better. I really do. So my role here as board chair is to ensure open, honest, and productive conversations in our community. That's why I have put this resolution forward for public discussion twice, even though I personally oppose it. Today, I've heard voices of many students and parents who need reassurance that we are committed to providing every student with a high-quality education in a safe and welcoming environment. After listening to these concerns, I recognize the importance of taking some kind of action. While this resolution does not change district policy, I want to affirm that our students should feel safe and protected. However, I remain concerned about the potential harm of passing either proposed version of this resolution. Neither adequately addresses the real concern that our district could lose federal funding, and no one has been able to provide certainty, 100%, that this will not have that unintended consequence. Whether it's legal, whether it's PACE, there is no certainty. But what I can share is facts and some headlines. U.S. Department of Education cuts over $6 million. U.S. Department of Education cancels an additional $350 million. They are investigating school districts. Portland State University is being investigated. Oregon's own Legislative Legal Counsel has stated that Oregon's law, state law, is conflicting with federal law. So these are just some examples that, although it's not immigration, it's not connected to immigration, that funding is being cut. And I think we need to recognize that as a fact. So as a school board, our duty is to focus on students, not on national politics. This resolution, as currently written, risks drawing our district into a political fight that does not serve our kids. As mentioned, we've been in it for the last 2 weeks. Outside groups have spread fear and misinformation about our last vote, and I do not believe that fueling further division helps our students. That is why I am proposing an alternative. One that preserves the core commitment to protecting student privacy and reaffirming our existing policies without inviting unnecessary political and financial risk. Amending paragraph 6 from revision 1, this approach assures students while keeping the board focused on what we are here to do, provide the best education possible. So the question is, what is the best way to respond? And what is in the best interest of our students? So let's not pass a resolution just to be part of some national conversation. That is not our mission. Our mission is to educate, support, and protect every student. Nothing has changed. Our students are safe. The state law has not changed. Our students are safe. This statement reassures the community of that, so let's pass it and move forward and refocus on improving educational outcomes for all students. Do we have other comments? Anything else that you'd like to share?
Are the revisions that you're proposing represented in any copy that we have?
They're not, but if you count, we would do an amend. We would amend. No. So I heard you state that you want revision 1. And I would move to amend paragraph 6.
Specifically referencing sanctuary laws?
So that would be 1, 2. So that would be now, therefore be it resolved, that paragraph. So by removing that paragraph, it removes unnecessary political and financial risk.
Sorry. I'm just about ready to say.
Do it.
Okay. I move to rescind the action previously taken on resolution number 25-001 on February 25th, 2025.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh.
You're still in debrief for public comment, so Chair needs to move into the next agenda item. before you do that.
Okay. So I didn't know that we were going to have prepared statements and speak to the crowd. So So can we go to the next thing?
Are we done sharing?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, now can we?
So the next item is Resolution 25-001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all.
Okay, now can I? Okay. I move to rescind the action previously taken on resolution number 25-001 on February 25th, 2025.
Is there a second?
I second that.
All in favor of rescinding? Sorry. Resolution 25-001. Say aye.
Chair, I'm sorry to interrupt you. His motion was, or Courtney's motion is to rescind the no vote. Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then we all vote?
You have to state, you have to reinstate that motion.
Okay.
So we second it?
Yeah,
So he said-
yes,
yeah,
but she's
so it was
repeating it for the vote, but you have to repeat it how she mentioned it.
Oh, did you read the first
Yeah.
one?
Mhm. Right
Yeah.
over there.
So,
The motion on the floor is,
to rescind the action previously taken on resolution number 25-001 on February 25, 2025. So you want to tell me more about that? So to rescind means to what? What could?
To take back the previous action, put it back on the floor.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you for sharing that.
I second that.
So all,
there's a second already.
Okay.
so all in favor of rescinding resolution number 25?
I'm sorry.
Did I read that right?
You're rescinding the
Right.
no vote.
So then we're
So all in
Right.
favor of rescinding the action previously
Oh.
taken.
all in favor of rescinding the action previously taken on resolution number 25-001 on February 25th, 2025, say aye.
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 What's your vote? We need a yes or a no.
So
Well,
are we, hold on,
So,
hold on.
so the motion
gonna come
passes
back.
4-1 and you
Okay.
still move, you can still.
Yeah, so we're going to bring it back to the floor.
Okay, so now I move to adopt resolution number 25-001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all.
And I second.
To adopt
Oh.
resolution.
All in favor of adopting the resolution number 25-001, reaffirming safe and welcoming schools for all, please say aye.
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 Aye. And I appreciate your fiscal concerns.
We're not quite done.
There's no discussion after this.
Right, but we haven't voted.
Yeah, she hasn't voted yet.
Yeah,
But there's,
I haven't voted.
you-
Yeah,
Yeah.
we haven't voted.
You called for a vote. So if you want to have discussion, you have to have that prior to the vote. So you had
Wait.
a motion and you got a
Right.
second and then you called for a vote. But if the board needs to have a discussion, you need to do that prior to the vote.
So they voted. Is that?
Yeah, their vote, and now we
Okay.
need, yeah. So everybody needs to vote now and then you'll move on.
Okay.
So I got three yeses. What's your vote, Rosie?
No.
Okay.
Can I have the following read into the record with my vote?
What is your vote?
Oh, okay. I abstain.
What's your reason?
Sure. No, I'll give a reason. So again, as mentioned, as I mentioned, I remain concerned about the potential harm of passing either proposed version of these resolution. There is the risk drawing our district into a political fight that does not serve our kids, and funding. we are risking funding and there is no certainty that we are saved. And so if you can add that to the record with my vote, please.
The motion carries.
Okay, so the motion carries with the three vote,
Three,
yes
one
vote,
abstain.
and one abstain. All right. So moving on to board reports. So at this time, if board members have an opportunity to want to share about what you've done.
Now we need a break.
No, let's just get rid. It's already 8 o'clock.
If we can walk out quietly, please, we are continuing our meeting. Si pueden salir calmadamente, por favor. Estamos en continuación con esta reunión. Gracias. All right, so we're going to go ahead and continue as people just walk out as they like. What? We're going to continue. Okay.
So for my board report, I attended the STEM Fest, but that was more of a parent rather than a board member, I guess. You know, we did have an event here in Woodburn over the weekend. We had one of our community members, one of our students lost their father. And so over the weekend, FC Woodburn held a fundraiser over at Legion Park over the weekend. And so I attended that. And
Please walk out. Completely inappropriate.
so that was my board report.
Thank you.
I also attended the STEM festival, which I believe was it spearheaded by the After School Club? Is that where I had some questions a little bit more about that?
It's a committee of various stakeholders and staff members.
Okay.
After School Club plays a phenomenal role in being able to pull it all together. So they are a big linchpin and a cornerstone in being able to pull this off.
Well, I appreciated that, their involvement. And I'd like to see it continue to grow and to pre-COVID enthusiasm. I recognize we're still building. It was a smaller one. In follow-up with that, I communicated with the OHSU program, on track program, which I'm really excited about. And I'd love to see that grow. I think, again, that goes back to expanding our kids' world. And I would be happy to grow, and I have connections with Shriners and the psychiatric adolescent chair. Anyway, I'd love to throw some energy around that. So
I went on the tour to the preschool, and that was excellent. And I've just been updating on webinars and I think that's all I have to report. Oh, Washington, yeah. And we had lunch there and it was grand. And I loved the classrooms and I couldn't believe how well the kindergartners were reading. It was just phenomenal. And they have an excellent attendance rate, which is just whew, amazing. So that was great.
So I attended the preschool tour as well as Washington Elementary, as well as participate in the STEM festival. I also attempted to go attend the Ballard Middle School concert after a funeral, church funeral, but it showed up in a church where at 7:30 when it was done. Many people presumed I was already there. And yes, last week's meeting was canceled because I had a family member who lost their battle with cancer. But my child still chose to attend the concert to overcome the grief of family member loss. So I, tried to make it, but they didn't. We missed. So anyway, moving on. And I'm sorry that we canceled last week's meeting because of my family member.
No need to apologize for that. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. I don't want to repeat what all has been shared, but it sounds like we all visited and toured together. And so it's nice to show up in either full completion or partial completion to visit our schools and do tours. I also attended the boys basketball playoff on Saturday, and that was a great turnout. It's always great to see community there to show up and support. And another thing that I did is a lot of reading and a lot of consultation on this resolution. So that's where I spent most of my energy. All right, so moving on, we have confirmation items. We have meeting minutes for February 11th, 2025, special board meeting, February 25, 2025, regular board meeting, personnel, surplus property disposal report, funding proposals and applications. And under that, we have two items, early literacy mini grant for Marion and Polk Early Learning Hub, and the Oregon Department of Education Immigrant and Refugee Student Success Plan grant. So I do have questions, Superintendent Larios, on the Oregon Department of Education Success Plan grant. Is that something that the district is applying for or has received?
Yeah, it's a grant that's been awarded to the district to support students, immigrant and refugees. And so there's a plan that's associated with that that's going to be supporting professional development and resources, really focusing on supporting newcomer students in our district.
And so that is a grant that has been received already?
Yes, that's a grant.
And how much of that is going directly to students?
It's a $150,000 grant, and it has to be used. We just received it and it has to be used by June. So it's all going to be going to support the program that supports those students.
And that's from local funding?
From the state.
From the state, yeah.
In your packet on page 20, there's a memo that provides some of that information on the plan and some of the target areas. Activity 1 is providing professional development for educators. Activity 2 is going to be supporting learning walks, which deprivatize the practice and get teachers into each other's classrooms so they could learn and see the real-time implementation of best practice instruction. And then activity 3 is going to be focused on the guidance and resources, the materials that the needs for those specialized classrooms and student needs. Yeah. No, we have like 3 months just to spend this. So there are manpowers in terms of like the time for educators to be able to, yes, yeah. And like subs for people to do learning walks. But this is like a real short duration grant that was just awarded and has to be expended by the end of June. Oh, most certainly. There are 30+ languages. I don't have the count right off the top of my head of how many different countries the students are represented, but there's over 30 languages.
This is an aggressive timeline. Do you have a plan in place is it a use it or lose it?
Yeah.
And so do you have a plan in place to make sure that?
Yeah, we're going to do what to expend it and spend it down.
Yeah.
It's a real short a window of time to be able
Real
to use
short,
this.
yeah. Okay.
Any other questions on confirmation items? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept the confirmation items 1 through 4 as presented.
All in favor of adopting the confirmation items as presented?
I second.
Oh, sorry. All in favor of adopting the confirmation items as presented, please say aye.
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 Motion carries 5-0 vote. So moving on to board action items, we have new business before us. We have the superintendent's recommendation for the renewal and non-renewal of probationary administrators, extension and non-extension of contract to contract administrators, extension of contract to contract teacher, and offer of employment, renewal and non-renewal of contracts to other non-represented supervisors and coordinators, as listed on the attached recommendation list and contracts.
Yeah, it's in the packet tonight as an annual need that comes forward to the board that needs to have action by March 15th, and that's in a statute. And so what comes tonight to the board is the recommendation for educators, administrators, supervisors, and the renewal or non-renewal of their contract. You'll see some different terms in there for employment, like temporary staff, and the example, some temporary staff who are having a non-renewal. So those temporary staff are staff who are hired on a one-year contract. That contract is over, so it's a non-renewal, but that's noted under the contract status. And then depending on the educator, the administrator, where they are on probationary status or contract status is the length of time that the contract is being recommended for renewal. A probationary educator, probationary administrator has a one-year renewal, and you'll see that noted under the contract length. Educators who are in the contract status have the 2-year contract length. Administrators who are in the moving from probationary into contract status have a 3-year contract length. And then the renewal of administrators in the second year of their contract have a three-year contract length. So there are different contracts and different lengths of renewal. But what you have in the packet tonight is my recommendation on each of the educators and individuals here.
I have a question regarding the, you know how you have them identified as, for example, probationary 3, probationary 1, 2, and 3. Can you elaborate on the classifications on that?
Yeah, this is a year to year. So in year 1, they are hired into probationary 1. After completing their first year of evaluation, they move into the second year of probationary 2, and then subsequently into probationary 3. So, and then after the 3 years of probation, they move into contract status.
Can you provide more information about your evaluation process, and are there any teachers who didn't make the list, who aren't being recommended for renewal?
There are only the temporary contract educators who are being recommended for non-renewal. I'll invite Director Tucker up. She might have a Director of Human Resources.
I guess, is there any evaluation based on performance where potentially a staff member isn't being recommended for renewal?
An example of a staff member who would be recommended, sorry, can you rephrase that?
Yeah, is there somebody, I guess, can you talk to me about what your evaluation process is like for evaluating teachers and recommending them to be on this list?
So a teacher can be recommended for non-renewal based on their evaluation cycle. The evaluation cycle includes setting goals, student learning goals. It includes a minimum of 4 informal observations and 2 formal observations. And so through the 6 observations minimum and the goal setting process, there is possibility that it can move towards non-renewal.
Sure, okay.
Like the non-renewal temporary, their contract was a one-year contract. So they were hired into a one-year position. The position may be reposted and reopened up, and the individual who's in it may reapply for it. So there's a possibility that they'll be hired back into it. It's possibilities. Yeah, that's why we made a note in the contract status to call that out and say temporary contract. So these individuals are on temporary contracts, and that contract is expired, it's run out, and so that's why it's a non-renewal. It's not performance-based, it's length of contract-based.
So if a teacher's not performing or they have any complaints or reprimanded, they wouldn't be on this list, right? Or
If a teacher is being recommended for non-renewal because of an evaluation, they may be on this list.
they may be on this list? So we won't know if they have complaints against them or they're unperforming or they've been reprimanded for not performing the rules as assisted to them. We wouldn't know that, right?
No, we wouldn't want to single out an individual and have that conversation here with the board and about any individual's evaluation or.
Thank you.
That would have to be done in executive session.
Right, but they would still be able to make it to this list if they had performance issues.
Yeah, performance issues could result in a recommendation for non-renewal.
I do have some questions. So after you and I conversated this morning, it looks like these packets are different. But can you share the change?
Yeah, on page we had an opportunity after we discussed this morning to go back and look, and I sent an email to the board just this afternoon, but you may not have a chance to see it, but review with the legal counsel the options that are available. And so we made a revision to go back to the 3-year contract renewal for contract administrators.
Sorry, I'm trying to look at that. I didn't have a chance to check my email.
It's on page 33 of your packet. Oh.
Which page?
33. So from my understanding in our conversation this morning, you stated that it was legal who recommended, or not recommended, but you consulted with legal about this old packet, and then you consulted again with legal, and now you have a new packet.
Yes, page 33 is a new.
So what's the big difference? Why the shift?
The length to focus on thinking about how do we impact the social emotional well-being as well of our administrators, and thinking about what's available, what tools we have available to improve their retention as well. In the second year, those are both options.
Any other questions? Up for discussion? So we need a motion, right, Jenny?
I make a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendations for renewal and non-renewal of probationary administrators, extension and non-extension of contracts to contracts, administrators, extension of contracts to contracts, teachers, and offer of employment renewal and non-renewal of contracts to other non-represented supervisors and coordinators as listed on the attended recommendation lists and contracts.
Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor of adopting? I read all of that, Jenny? Do I read it all? Oh, the motion. All in favor of adopting the motion as presented, please say aye.
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 Motion carries a 5-0 vote. Okay. Future agenda items. Interest in adding a future agenda item to the agenda. Okay. Hearing none, I'll move along. Board calendar, as you will see on item 8, we have March 13th, 2025 boards. That would be this Thursday. We have a school visit at the CLC, the high school, and Success. April 1st, 2025 budget committee training and listening session. April 8th, regular board meeting. May 6th, budget committee work session and first meeting.
I have a question about April 1st and May 6th. Is that for only if you're on the budget committee, or is that for everyone?
The board as well as the budget committee.
Okay.
I'd like to add something. I'd like to invite everybody tomorrow to the Family Building Blocks event that's going to be at the Salem Convention Center from 5 p.m. to 6:30. This is for networking, connecting with our educators, and the organization of Family Building Blocks as well.
So thank you everyone for being here. For those of you who are still online, for you who are present, we made it through and we're here. So it is now 8:31 and I adjourn this meeting.